Teaching is in my blood. No, really. There's mom. There's dad. Both teachers. If you can be genetically predisposed to a profession, that's the way I explain my dream to be an educator. Mom finished her degree with me in her womb, graduating when I was just a year old. From there, I went to whichever school my parents worked at, starting at Forest Hill Elementary with Mom, next to Horace Mann Middle School with Dad. I watched the ins and outs of the educational process, gaining understanding that teaching was more than worksheets and discipline. Through the entire process of education, I looked to my mom especially as what I hoped to be in the classroom. As a teacher, she has touched more lives than I ever thought possible. My mom had taught pre-kindergarten for 20 years and now kindergarten for 2 at a Title I district, instilling in her 5-year-olds the necessity of an education and attending college. A few years back, my mom got a letter. A former student of hers was graduating high school and was attending college soon. This senior was a recipient of the Bill Gates Millennium Scholarship and chose to share his powerful essay that helped him earn this prestigious award. The essay was about his pre-kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Paxton, a woman who gave this child love when he had no one, who encouraged him and reminded him that he was worthy, who snuck a jar of peanut butter in his backpack so he would eat over the weekend. He noted that Mrs. Paxton had sewn Christmas stockings and Easter baskets, had filled them for each student, and arranged a barbecue for them and Easter egg hunt. She hugged them at the door in the morning, hugged them again when they left. For this student, it was the only hug he sometimes received each day. Mrs. Paxton, my mom, had impacted this young man 14 years earlier, and he was thanking her by attending college. As I prepare to be a teacher soon, I can only hope to be half as much an impact as my mother has been to this student and the 1,000 or so others she has taught over these past 25 years. As I look to enter the classroom soon, I have thought often of what sort of teacher I want to be, both in subject and as I relate to my students. Middle school has always felt like the place for me. A misunderstood group, these students are going through some of the biggest transitions of their lives, often feeling stuck in the crux of childhood and adolescence. As their soon-to-be teacher, I can relate. I will be transitioning from a life of sleeping late, sweatpants, and barely brushing my hair to the professional world. Even as that transition takes place, the struggle of being the teacher instead of being the taught will likely carry into that first year in the classroom. Even once I, hopefully, get the hang of being a full-on grown-up, there will always be an air of transition in my life. Growing older, maybe having a family, financial decisions. As humans, we're in a constant state of transition. By embracing that transition, though, I will finally be able to face my fears of not reaching my students. Instead, I will hopefully relate to my students and find understanding in the struggles they face. In subject, I expect to be the teacher that can make history fun for her students. In Texas, and especially San Antonio, we live in history. Our surroundings are constant reminders of the past's impact on our future. Those whose names are now streets we drive, Cesar Chavez, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, were once living lives that made them worthy of those signposts. If my students can relate, maybe they too will take active steps to live their lives in a way that is deserving of a boulevard or avenue bearing their names as well. As a great philosopher once sort of said, I fell in love with teaching the way you fall asleep, slowly and then all at once. I think John Green was talking about teenage romance, but my paraphrasing is an adequate quote to describe my relationship with this profession. It has been a part of my life in one form or another since birth, and yet, when I finally began the work for my degree, it was then I felt completely committed and excited to enter this profession. To fall in love with teaching is to connect with my subject and remember that students are people. This past semester, I was given the opportunity to participate in the Nepawasin Scene project, working with over 300 or so excited, tired, antsy, hungry children. They experienced the 7 dwarves of emotion in the span of 5 minutes. Other than Doc. Not sure how you can experience Doc. Each day, these students greet myself and the other mentors. They want hugs, they want to learn, but also want to be anywhere but that cafeteria. And yet every Wednesday, I look forward to seeing them and watching them learn. It is that, the witnessing of the miracle that is the learning process, that gives me the opportunity to stay in love with teaching. Teaching is more than my profession. It's my calling. Okay? Okay.